What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm kind of just jamming to that little intro music every dang time, bopping my head. Thanks, guys, for joining tonight. Today's live stream is going to be a great one, man. I have brought some longtime collectors and who I think have great physical media channels, and they have many different topics within our hobby that we definitely love. But they're pretty vocal as well about some things within the physical media world. And so I wanted to bring them on tonight. My main goal for tonight, and I let them know as well, but for you guys, the audience, is to let you guys know I my main thing is to have like a constructive discussion, but then use our platforms, my platform, because it's on my channel, to kind of discuss some concerns that I have as a collector, and then of course concerns that have been brought up to me. And I know, speaking with my friends in the backstage, they said the same thing, man. And so I think today is going to be a great live stream. And guys, again, leave comment in the comment section, guys, because I know there's a lot of passionate physical media collectors out there. And yeah, let's just have a good time and let's get the show started. Today's first guest is my man Mega Mike. What's going on?
What's up, Frank? Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited for tonight. You have some amazing topics to go over, so I'm ready.
Yeah. This is a long time. I've been trying to get you on the live stream for a bit. So thank you again for your time. Speaking of trying to get on my live stream for a little while, my man, my little pop culture, Jeff Man 316.
Hey, what's going on, Frank? Appreciate you having me on.
What's going on, man? I was trying to I wish I had like the Steve Austin music.
Yeah, I know. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Jeff Man 316 says so.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's so good.
No, I apologize. I was supposed to be on one time before, and I think I got sick or something. So I appreciate you.
The same thing happened to me. Literally, the same thing happened to me.
Well, so second time around, we're all healthy. So that's good.
Yeah. Next guest is my right-hand man. That is John from Let's Talk Entertainment Media. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Frank? Thanks for having me on, as always. I'm really glad to be here. Can't wait for the night show.
Yeah, thanks. Next is Jake from Steelbook Obsessed. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much. How's everybody doing tonight? Doing good. That's good.
Not all at once, guys. Not all at once.
Silence. A lot of subject matter that doesn't like to get talked about but needs to. Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Asking the tough questions,
I guess.
And then next is a guy who I think has one of the best beards in all of on YouTube. Is 80s made. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, friends, welcome. Or not welcome. I'm the other way around. I thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I don't have people on my show, so I was like, I'm not sure how this really goes.
Yeah.
Well, at least we all got some facial hair going, not just.
I know. Yeah, we all
got
kind of good.
It's part of the community physical media YouTuber. Yeah, it's a part of the uniform, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's required. So I'm going to go through the chat really quick, and then I'm going to just kind of go through the conversations, guys, the little topics. So, guys, Ryan is the man. As always, he has everyone's links to their channels. So please, guys, if you're not subscribing to these individuals, what the hell was that, Mike?
Yeah, got the magic powers here. They don't call me magic powers for
Getting ready for Valentine's Day.
Something.
What the hell? I was not expecting that. That's totally took me.
Oh, we got more
I was
surprises.
on the wrong show for a while. I was like, what are we doing?
So sorry, just took me for a trip. So yeah, links down in the comment section. Also, Tom Cruise burner account. What's going on? And then Ken was originally supposed to be on here, but he's sick, so maybe next time. Adrian, what's going on? Jeff, man, what's going on? John Doe Gigolo. Follow his YouTube channel as well.
What's up, John?
Yeah, Older Revere. Sorry. Welcome, Jamie. Welcome, guys. So, before we kind of get into it, what I want to discuss just really quick is you guys are very passionate physical media collectors. Some of you have been collecting for a long time, decades. And so I want to, because again, I want this to be like a constructive live stream, right? And so I want to know for you guys, from you guys, is that why are you so passionate about the physical media? Because again, all of you guys are so passionate, and it comes out from your voice, from your videos, everything. And so I'm going to start off with is going to be Mike, Jeff, John, Jake, and 80s. And so Mike, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. So I haven't been collecting for decades. I'm not that old, so you can bear with me. But yeah, I probably would say I got pretty heavy into collecting about 5 years ago, where I really was looking out for titles and picking up Blu-rays and discovering Steelbooks and boutique labels and all of this amazing collectingness that we do now. And really, I came into the hobby because I got sick of streaming. Like, streaming was irritating me. I couldn't find stuff I wanted to watch, such limited selections, no matter how many streaming services I had, and stuff would disappear. I'm like, I just watched a movie I loved. I go back a week later, it's gone. Like, I can't find the movie anywhere. So I'm like, there has to be a better way. And sometimes the old ways are the best ways. So I went and got back into collecting really hot and heavy, and just started building a collection from there with the help of you guys making recommendations and suggestions. And now I have a ton of movies in my collection that I love watching. So I love this hobby. I love the collecting passion we have. And if we do get into rants or say anything about issues we have tonight, it's because we love this stuff and we want to shed a light on the issues because it's important, right? We want this collecting hobby to continue. We want to collect physical media for a long time. So we got to talk about these issues sometimes. Simple as that. But yeah, so excited to be here.
Jeff.
All right, I appreciate you having me on the channel. I'm the old timer of the group. So back in my day, as I said backstage, I've been collecting some type of physical media since the 80s. My father got me into collecting. He was a big movie buff. So we went to the drive-in when I was a kid. I saw Jaws at the drive-in, and that's, I think, probably why it was my favorite movie. But I've collected. I'm big into I've got a couple videos early on my channel where I talk about why I collect physical media. It's really about preserving the movies and watching them the way they were meant to be. I hate censorship. I hate not being able to find the movies, like Mega Mike said about streaming. I actually didn't like VHS as much back in the day because they had a lot of pan and scan stuff, and it bothered me because it looked different than when I saw it at the theater. I always tell people I'm a visual guy. I don't usually like subtitles and stuff. I like to watch and pay attention to the movie. I thought it was so funny. I'll show you real quick. I got anybody know what this is here?
I have several
DVD, right?
on the floor.
Yeah, it was in a video I did, so I had it laying here. It's a CED
I have that
disc.
exact one.
That's a predecessor to Laserdisc. So
Yeah.
But like I was telling you guys before we came on, I still got my Laserdisc of Scream because it's right now I think it's the only way you can get it uncut. So it's more about enjoying the movie, and I want to see it exactly the way it was made. I don't want anything obstructing that. So I hate censorship. I hate having to find things on streaming. I want to be able to own it in my collection, and I don't want anybody to be able to take it away from me. So it almost reminds me of what they're doing now back in the day of taking books away from people. I mean, they're trying to control what you're trying to watch, and I'm just against all that. So I've been a physical media advocate forever, and I think I always will be, just so I can own the movies.
John.
Yeah, for me, collecting physical media just started because of my love of film, and I wanted to just have the films that I love and be able to rewatch them at any time. And that grew into wanting to watch the films in the best way possible. So following up through VHS to DVD to Blu-ray to now 4K Blu-ray, now is when I collect the most. And it's just because I want to have these films right there for me anytime I want to watch them. Like streaming services don't give you that luxury. They rotate out. You might have remembered them being there at one point, then you go to look them because now you're in the mood to watch them and now they're gone. But if you own them and they're on your shelf, they can't take them away from you. And that was always a big thing for me. Just like if anytime I want to watch Batman, Batman's right in the other room and I could watch it and it'll bring a smile to my face. And that's the beauty of physical media, in my opinion. And of course, you can also watch it in the best quality possible.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah. Yeah, and then spend a ton of damn money on that.
Oh well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Jake, what about you?
I've been collecting ever since I was able to get a paycheck at like 15 years old. I started collecting VHS back in the day, and I really started collecting heavy Blu-ray time frame when I got the PS3. Those visuals blew my mind. Just that jump from DVD to Blu-ray is just like, oh my God, I need to have these movies in the best quality possible. Back then, streaming wasn't really a thing. I think Netflix was around when I started collecting Blu-rays, but even then you needed to have like an actual disc, like in a Wii to stream it or a PS3 to stream it. Like it was very ancient. I don't hate streaming services, but there's some sort of like comfort factor in having everything behind me and just going, looking, pulling it off the shelf, putting it in, watching it in the best quality possible. Like a lot of us have said, like there's still nothing to me that kind of beats popping in a new 4K for the first time and just hoping that the transfer looks like pristine and as great like you're watching it for the first time. That's still one of the best feelings that I can personally get. And I don't see myself stopping collecting anytime soon. I'm hoping that we continue to get a lot of these releases pumping out like we are right now. I think in a sense we're kind of in a heyday of collecting because they are focusing on collectors right now because it's kind of a dying breed, physical media. A lot of the average people are just going to streaming because it's convenient. So we got to kind of keep this hobby alive, and I'm very happy to do so.
Mm-hmm. 80s.
Well, I was like, obviously, same talking points that everybody has. But for me, it was 1998. And I remember because I worked at a video rental store. So I went down the path of like movies had been a part of my life from the beginning. Like my earliest memory was my brother and sister weren't even born yet. So I had to have been 3. And my parents bought a TV. It was the first TV they had owned, and that wasn't black and white. They just upgraded to a color TV, and they rented Pinocchio. And so like I remember that I had to have been 3 because my brother and sister weren't born. And so like movies have really just been at the forefront of a part of my life at my earliest memory. So worked at the video rental store at 16. And then I never, ever, I was very reluctant to call this a hobby and reluctant to call, even myself as a collector, because it was such, so ingrained into my life of just having movies, working at the store, and then coming home and wanting that experience that I had at the video rental store. Like I wanted to be able to go to the shelf and just pick off a movie. And I very quickly went outside my comfort zone. So like everybody has their core favorite movies, like your core 500, 110, your favorites that you have always. But then like, I think at 17, 18, I was outside that comfort zone. I was like, let me check it out. And I was going to the Best Buy in the Circuit City every Tuesday. It became part of the ritual. And I was just trying to add every single thing new, but also like really just revisiting all the old stuff. When I was 16, all my friends had cars. They saved up all their money to buy cars. I literally lived in my parents' house, saved up all my money for a surround sound, a television, a VCR, and a 5-disc DVD changer at 16 years old. All my friends drove me around because they all had cars. And it was like, that's where I was at. So it was like, it's pretty much been a lifestyle. And so it's just only in the past year or two, I kind of adopted the idea that it really is a hobby and I'm a collector, but I thought everybody was like this. Seriously, like I really did.
We're a rare breed, 80s.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. I mean, I mentioned it really in my early videos and everything, but just my father got me into this. One, being a horror fan, I simply love the genre, but then collecting those VHSs. and yeah, I just simply love it. I even love the damn like sound of the VHS kind of going in. Good memories of that. Of course, not the damn rewinding the damn thing, but just the simple fact of the wonderful memories, and I want to own that. Exactly. Please rewind.
I was just thinking of that. You made a shirt.
Yeah.
Give it that.
And so yeah, I had like before, I don't know, moving and everything, I had like 400 like DVDs, and then restarted collecting because I had to get rid of them throughout the years because of moving a lot and everything. And so same thing, man. I just really wanted to own the movies that aren't going to go, that isn't going to go away from streaming services because they're always leaving monthly. And so anyway, the reason why I thought about this type of video live stream is because it's because of Arrow Video, guys. I'm gonna be blunt, man. I simply love Arrow Video. I think since becoming a collector in 2019 again, Arrow Video has put out just phenomenal releases, whether that's transfers, whether that's like packaging, and especially for the past couple years. But I've noticed, especially 2025, y'all, that they have had just error after error after error. And so so that's why I specifically thought of this video. But of course, there's other labels that you can point out to of quality maintenance, right? And just how it affects us as collectors who expect a movie, a transfer to play. And then unfortunately, there is an error, and then there's a replacement disc. So I want to know from you guys, and again, it's going to be in the same order that we just did, is, you as a collector, and then of course, the voices from your channel, because we talked about this earlier, that there's concerns from your viewers as well. What do you guys think of just, especially like the past like year of like the replacement disc from Severin, from Second Sight, Arrow Video? I mean, so yeah, guys, just let me. Yeah, I want to hear it from you guys. So Mike, go ahead, man.
Yeah, so Arrow definitely is one of my favorite boutique labels now, especially last year. They destroyed just 2024. I thought they had some amazing releases, pretty much something for everybody. So then I really got into Arrow, especially with the Barnes & Noble 50% off sales. I just love shopping and picking up the titles in person. But I can understand if you're buying these day one, you're pre-ordering this stuff, and you see mistakes and you have to do replacement discs. That has to be overly frustrating, especially because you're paying these high prices, especially if it's day one. That's why I personally don't buy stuff day one anymore, especially from these labels that have had issues in the past, because I'm like, oh, there could be a mistake there, and I don't want to go through the hassle of the disc replacement program because it just takes time. It's an annoyance. And I've seen other labels get mistakes, and it's just frustrating. So I tried not to buy day one, so I don't have to do that. I let you guys buy day one sometimes.
It's so damn true.
You guys let me know, is this one good to go? I let them get the manufacturing process down right, and then I'll buy it in the 50% off sale. But I totally understand if you're buying this stuff day one and you're paying those crazy prices, it better be correct like 9 out of 10 times at least. It seems right now they're messing up a little bit too often. So yeah, disappointed in how they're starting this year off, but hopefully they learn from this learning experience and they just do a better job going forward.
Jeff?
With me collecting over the years, I would actually say that I haven't, it's like over the last maybe 3 or 4 years, I've experienced more replacement discs than I've ever had before. So I don't know, I would have thought maybe over the years, but I remember getting that Donnie Darko 4K, and that had an issue. That was Arrow, I think.
That was
so
Arrow, yeah.
To me, well, I love Arrow as well. I mean, I just did my Jeffy Awards, and me and my viewers voted Arrow as our favorite boutique label of the year. They had some outstanding releases in 2024. I don't know whether it's just that, like you guys said, they're trying to pump out stuff so fast because they want to get collectors, keep us going with that. But they need, to me, the main issue is communication and customer service. They need to ramp that up because we are paying money for this. I'm speaking as somebody who runs a company. That's the main thing you need to do, is you need to have good communication and customer service. If you go back and look on my channel, I ranted about the way that they handled that Rocky Ultimate collection. I was told one thing for 2 months, that I would get my discs, and then when I never got them, and I saw some people in the community getting theirs in the mail, I called them and they literally told me, "Oh, well, you're going to have to send your disc back. We're not just going to send them." And I was like, "Well, that's bullshit, because I just saw 2 people get theirs in the mail."
Yeah, I never got mine either.
That was what frustrated me, is they didn't handle it the same way for different buyers. So, and then even the boutique labels, other than Arrow, I was just telling you guys, I got my package for Vinegar Syndrome, and randomly on the top was the replacement disc for Looking for Mr. Goodbar. I didn't even know they had shipped it.
Oh, what was wrong with that one?
I think the Dolby Vision, there's an issue with the 4K disc. And so I emailed them after I found out about it, and they said, well, if you purchased it directly from them, they'll send you a disc eventually. We will. And then they never told me. And then randomly it shows up in a box of some of the sales stuff that I got. So I'm more concerned about the customer service and finding a better way of handling the requests and getting communication out there, and not just haphazardly doing it, because I think that's what frustrates us, is when they don't handle the communication properly. So,
well, those are the best, Jeff, man, when you don't even realize that you get a replacement disc, it just randomly shows up in a package. Exactly. I remember buying that Friday the 13th box set day one. There were so many issues in that, and they were very good at like reporting issues and when they were going to send stuff out. It might have taken them a while to actually do so. It was a couple months, but at least it was there and it happened, and they were vocal about it. Just tell us what's going on. Like, don't let there be a veil. Don't be secretive about it. As long as you keep us in the loop, I feel like we have more of like, okay, we'll give you a break here as long as I know you're working at making this right.
Well, trust me, the customers I deal with at work, that they tell me that customer service, no matter what you're buying, is the same. They tell me communication is the key. Let me know that there's a problem before I discover it myself. So I would rather figure out a way to get us the information and tell us immediately how you're going to get the replacement. But that Friday the 13th, I was one of the first people that bought that set, and I didn't get my replacements. It was like months after, and everybody was getting theirs. I complained so much that I ended up getting 2 sets in the mail.
That's a win.
Shut Jeff Man up already.
Yeah, they got
send him another.
I sold them, but not at an extreme price, but a decent price to another collector who never got theirs either. So, so I mean, it helps to. I don't want to call it a rant, but to let your voice be heard. And maybe this is one of the ways here, is that if all of us kind of communicate together, maybe it'll help. I'm not sure.
John.
Yeah, like for me too, it's the same thing. I love Arrow Video. I thought that they were the best label of 2024. So to see them stumbling out of the block this year already is kind of unfortunate, but I think one of the core things you need to do as a company is have good quality control. Like the big thing is the disc should work coming out of the box. It's not even just with movies. You see it all the time with video games now. They think that just making up for it makes up for it, like by giving us the replacement disc. I appreciate that, but it's a hassle. Not everybody has the time to go through the like, oh, my disc needs a replacement kind of deal. It's nice when they just ship it right to you. And you're like, we fucked up. Here you go. But when you have to report it, and then sometimes they deny that there's anything wrong, it's much more of a hassle. They need to have just better quality control, because this stuff shouldn't happen. Every once in a while, it's understandable. Mistakes happen. But when it happens numerous times, you got to like kind of look at the company and go like, what's going on there? Why is this happening so often? Like, what are we doing wrong?
I apologize for interrupting. Have they acknowledged the issue with the cell?
No.
Yeah, I saw that with mine, Jeff. I didn't want to interrupt anyone, but yeah, Jeff brought up a dang good point, and that's again part of the reason why I wanted to do this live stream, because I haven't heard a single peep about the issue of the Inglourious Bastard special feature issue. I haven't heard anything about the cell issue.
I'm able to get these releases early from Arrow, and I've reached out to them, and they have not said a word on what's going to happen with that.
Even with you? Wow.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
No. And it's vocal. It's known. Like, everybody knows within the circle. Like, if you look up cell reviews, it's told numerous times by numerous people. I think I don't think in that specific instance it's a deal breaker. It's just like 20 extra seconds of repeated footage. It's just unfortunate more than anything. Like that release is great. And
I know it's
if it wasn't
really
for that
good.
repeated 20 seconds, like it would be a phenomenal release.
I agree. Yeah, special features is worth the price alone, man. It was really good.
Yeah.
Jake.
Yeah, I was gonna go into the sell part. I guess the only other thing that I have to add on here that hasn't been talked about yet, John, you brought up the video game aspect of things and how like even like big release video games, there's a huge day one patch that takes like 4 or 5 hours to go into. Like it stinks that there's nothing like that for movies, because I feel like that would help out a lot to just like connect your player to the internet, get a patch that kind of covers some bases. I don't know if that technology will ever really exist or not, but I don't know. It's unfortunate that it seems to be happening more and more, and I just don't know if like their R&D department is really like combing through this like they should, or if they've had to like cut back just because sales aren't, what they used to be 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm just not sure what the answer is going to be to this. I feel like it's going to get even worse than what it is now.
Yeah. 80s.
Well, I was like, I have a little bit of a devil's advocate thing here, because just coming from a retail background most of my whole life. And so I understand that what I noticed just in the pattern alone, like it's always happened. Like you can go back to, I've been collecting since the 90s and buying movies since the 90s. And so there's always been a certain release that had some kind of issue, but it has been more recently. But I noticed it happening more and more since Best Buy and Target stopped selling movies. So you have more people trying to buy this stuff. And then now people that were never buying online before, they were never buying boutiques. But then you also have now this conversation where there's people that are ditching streaming now, and for the first time ever, just getting into 4K. I literally explained to somebody today that he didn't know what he thought 4Ks were Blu-rays, just like the whole Wii and Wii U thing. I had this whole conversation. This guy's going to go out and buy a 4K player now and go buy 4K movies just off of a video I made. And so there's this whole community of people that are just first now getting into it. And you see this huge pattern happening after they stop carrying physical media in stores. But then I go in and I'm like, all right, well, these companies are a lot smaller than your Sony or these bigger companies that have the ability to put out these bigger studios. And so these companies are a lot smaller. They're now having a bigger influx of people. And so it is easier to, and I'm not saying forgive, but like it's easier to see and understand that there probably isn't a good quality control there. They're just hiring as many people as they can probably get in the door. And they're probably not movie people. We're movie people, so like some guy that's just supposed to be checking, oh yeah, the disc works, the sound works great. Like they're not going to notice that 20-second clip that any one of us would notice. And so it's one of those things that I just think that they're way overloaded, and they're smaller companies trying to deal with the influx of new business. And I say that because I'm a huge Imprint fanboy. Like I was like, if you've ever seen me at all, like I love Imprint. I talk about them all the time. And this Thanksgiving Black Friday sale was the first time I didn't get to order, because everybody was trying to order. The site kept crashing. I couldn't get on. I just got pissed and just stopped, didn't order anything. Last year, I signed on. I bought stuff. I was able to look at it and browse for hours to figure out exactly what I wanted to get the best deal and get the most stuff, and had no problem. I spent hours trying to just log in, and every time I went to check out, that was sold out, and then my cart would reset. And so there's a lot more people buying boutique stuff, and they're buying stuff that they never bought before. And I was like, I just experienced that just from the Imprint Black Friday sale. So I was like, I get people's frustrations, but at the same time, like, I think it's just that they bit off more than they can chew.
And I don't know, when Best Buy kind of pulled the plug, I know that it took a lot of people within the industry off guard. They did not really tell a lot of people. And I feel like they're still kind of clamoring to get the sales that they had from that retail space that's gone. I know they're trying to push towards online as much as possible. But like I said, if you go towards online, you're only going to get the people that know about this stuff. It's hard to get anybody new into the hobby when you can't go into a store and find it.
No.
So my issue with that, I mean, I do agree with you, 80s, with the increased buyers, right? The increased new physical media collectors, right? That you kind of mentioned.
I wasn't
However,
finished my thought, but that was what I was.
Oh,
saying.
go ahead,
I
finish.
think that no, because like when you go back to like just that's the problem. I think that's the biggest problem. But for me, where I'm starting to get frustrated with, because like I can forgive it a little bit because I understand they're probably way overloaded, and just seeing the sales and seeing the sheer numbers of the stuff that's going on now. And you start seeing it, like people are saying, hey, I ordered this a couple weeks ago and it's finally just now getting to me, where last year or 6 months ago it was a lot faster. So they're getting bogged down, especially when all these places are doing sales. But then I'm getting frustrated at the point of, you have the quality control issue, and then release is being pushed back. So it's supposed to come out in January, February, March. It's supposed to be released in certain month, and then it's being pushed back. Not even just like a couple days or a couple weeks, but we're talking pushed back for a couple months, and then it comes out, and then there's a quality control issue. That's very frustrating. And that's the one thing that really gets me. But like the cell came out on time, and there's an issue, and so there's a whole issue that they need to address it, and I understand that, but that one didn't really get under my skin. You know what I mean?
I know for me personally, I would rather have a movie be pushed back and work perfectly than a movie being rushed. And
but the ones I'm talking about are the ones that are being pushed back, and then there's still a quality control issue. Like sometimes, because like when you look at it, like why was it pushed back? Like they don't usually always tell you. But then you can kind of figure out some of the reasons. Like some of the reasons are like the manufacturing process, like actually printing the discs. There's something they're waiting on there, and it's generally not in the community, or when you look at these forums of people that are kind of a little bit more in the know, and nobody's talking about actual issues or having to repress it or something like that. So it's not like it doesn't feel like they're being pushed back to make sure you have a perfect disc. It's because they ran out of cardboard and they couldn't print all the slip covers. Something silly like that is why it's being, sometimes why it's being pushed back. Because then you still get it, and you still get a bad release. Like there's one that I don't remember. I think it's Planes, Trains, Automobiles. There's one that I don't think ever got a disc replacement, and it has like a mix up in the audio. I don't remember what it was. It was a few years ago. It has a mix up in the audio. There's never been a replacement. Nobody really talks about it. And the thing is, most people don't even have surround sound. So like a lot of people don't even know it's an issue. I think it's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I think that's
the audio was something with the speakers. I do remember.
Yeah, there's something. It was like literally, it's the right sound, but they're just coming out of the wrong speaker.
Yeah, I think people didn't care because that whole release was like really terrible. So people just like, yeah, okay, the audio's bad, but so's everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I do know, like like I said, I understand like some of these businesses with the growth of new potential buyers and everything. However, with experienced labels like Arrow Video has been out for a little while, I don't know. It was just really frustrating for me, and again, that's what inspired this whole live stream. But I just know that like there's other people besides us, obviously, who have commented on each of our own type of videos about it. So again, I think that we're just kind of like the voice with not only our concerns but of others as well. One thing that I wanted to talk about, and I think that this might be an isolated thing. Who knows? I don't know, but it's definitely something very, very concerning. And that is specifically labels censoring their own movie releases. And the one that I'm specifically talking about is Scream Factory editing out a specific scene, even though it's so minor. Like it's Reddick. It's the scene where Diesel is, I think he just like touches the butt.
Pats her on the butt.
Yeah. And then for some reason, Scream Factory edited it out. There's no explanation.
Well, I read online that it wasn't Scream Factory. The director requested that they kind of fade out and not show that.
I heard that too. It was a director.
That was
really?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear it at first. I thought it was Scream Factory, and then I mentioned that to somebody because I showed it in my video and was like, "This is edited. I'm not going to buy it yet until I find out what's going on." And then somebody commented, and then sent me a link and told me that it was the director wanted that to be cut out.
Interesting. Yeah, because I guess I didn't see anything about that. I think with something like that, I think it would be nice as a buyer that I would have at least known that at least because
or just market it as like a director's cut or something. If there's anything different,
Yeah,
in the theatrical version, yeah, just again, transparency is key. Just let it be
Yeah,
known.
put a card in there and just say,
100%.
I want to let you know I altered this. That this is the way it's going to look moving forward, type of thing.
And that's it. Real simple.
No.
What do you guys think? Well, recently, again, 80s. You had some good topics, discussions last night. Again, with the crew, the Sunday night scaries. So one of the things that you talked about was labels re-releasing the same damn movie. And not these labels for some reason aren't releasing new movies. The example was I mentioned was Evil Dead from Scream Factory. They're releasing another steelbook of the Evil Dead when they just had a steelbook like 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago. And so anyway, and again, it's just not only them, it's the studios doing the same thing as well. But guys, what do you think of just like labels just re-releasing the same damn movie within their catalog instead of like having new movies? Like, I don't know, man. Mike, yeah.
Yeah, it's an easy money maker for them. They know if it's a popular movie, it's going to sell well. Even just a re-release, it's probably a safe bet for them because they know some people are Evil Dead fans and will buy everything Evil Dead. So they'll buy 20 Steelbook copies of that. So it's unfortunate. I would love to see a mixture of, okay, a few re-releases occasionally, but then also dive into the back catalog. Let's get some new stuff out there. So I would like a mixture if possible, but once again, they got to make a business decision. And if it sells, that's probably why they're re-releasing it. I'm going to put it also on the customers too, not just the business, right? The business wouldn't sell it if it wasn't going to make the money. So customers, you don't have to buy every single, release of one movie. That's what I would say there. I'm fine. I'm not a double dipper. I'm not a triple dipper. If I have the movie on 4K, I have the movie on 4K, whether it's Steelbook, Slipcoat, whatever it is, I'm content with it. Even if it's a favorite movie of mine, if it's the same format, I'm not going to upgrade it personally. But I know some people love double dipping, triple dipping, but yeah,
Guilty.
So that's my
I'm with you, Meg and Mike. As long as I got it once on 4K, that's enough.
I don't know. The movies I love on Steelbook, I will pick up a lot of different versions of Steelbooks if they have different artwork on them.
I think you got me, and that was
it.
25 copies of The Fifth Element and Leon.
I got like 9 or 10 different versions of the film.
I think that
Germany.
This is where the line is between you. All of us are movie buffs, but you're also collectors, so you have your own unique little niche, niche, whatever you want to say.
Yep.
So, I mean, I've always liked steel books, and have made some controversial statements on my channel. I do not think they should be re-releasing these Best Buy exclusive steel books in Walmart.
No.
And if they do, I think they should be altered. Like like Lionsgate did the limited Reservoir Dogs, and they made a Mr. Pink version. I didn't buy it, but at least it was different. And I like talking about it on my channel because they re-released American Psycho, and somebody let me know there was a minor difference. There was some wording on the slip. I'm fine. So that's good. There's a difference, but they've released a lot, like Hackers, I think. It was a bunch of them that they re-released. 300. They just re-released that. You need to do something different. To me, it's a money grab. Don't call it a limited edition, and just because Best Buy closed, you're just gonna pump out the exact same thing all over again. Because to me, that is the line of I'm a collector, and now I don't have anything that's limited anymore because Walmart pumped that thing out, 1,000 times over, and now it took a little bit of the value away. And I know I don't just do it for the money. But part of a collection means you have things that matter to you that are limited that other people may not be able to get.
Oh,
that's
100%.
the whole part of
100%.
every collection, whether it's action figures, anything. And it just always bothered me that they just took the easy route. And instead of coming up with some new artwork, you're damn printing the thing all over again anyway.
And they
Change the
said
artwork.
original limited. Sorry to cut you off, but they
No, you're
said
fine.
limited on all the ones that I'm familiar with that they reprinted. And then the reprint says limited reprint, and it's the same art. And there's no like number one. There's no even like stamp on it that says reprint or second edition
Exactly.
or like they would with a book. So sorry to interrupt, but I was like,
No,
yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
Well, the problem I have is they do that with slip covers and everything else, and you can choose whether to buy those things or not. But once
Yeah.
I choose to buy it, I just frustrates me going into a store and seeing the exact same thing I bought 2 years ago that was supposed to be limited. And like I think it was Sony when they did their limited and did the reprints on this actual slip of like Total Recall, they put limited reprint, so you
Yep.
knew it was
Yeah.
different.
Mhm.
But like I
we-
said, if you're wasting the time printing it, do something different with the artwork. Then you might catch even more revenue because some of us who collect things might end up double dipping and buying it again if it's your favorite movie.
Oh, for sure.
Instead of, and I understand it because I see a lot of those things just sit in Walmart and they'll only get 1 or 2 copies of them in my small Walmarts anyway,
Mhm.
but they'll sit there for weeks and nobody buys them. And I was like, well, what'd you reprint all those things for? Come up with something new. Like you said, come up with either a different version or a new movie, something that we haven't seen before, and they'll get more of my money. So
Yeah, I think that's the only reason why Evil Dead got re-released is because it sold out so quickly that they're like, okay,
probably.
we could either repress the same Steelbook or we could make a new Steelbook and kind of sell out even quicker. Like the people who didn't grab it will grab it, or the people who grabbed the other one will grab this one because it's new artwork. Like it's just kind of the collector mentality. I
think they're re-releasing Evil Dead Rise again. It's saying they're doing the Best Buy exclusive one. I think
that one makes me upset though, because like they do very minimal changes. There's been 3 different of Evil Dead Rise and they all have the same front cover. It's just like the back cover that changes, the inside artwork that changes. That's the stuff that irks me. With Lionsgate, I like them having like the collector's mentality in mind. They have first pressing on all of their like inside spines just so you do know that, okay, this is from the original run.
Mhm.
And now they're not even like reprinting those Steelbooks. They're doing the color variants, like you said, like the Apocalypse Now even. I'm glad that got a re-release from that giant big set that they had, just because that was out of print for so long. And now the 6,000 copies that were on Lionsgate Limited are now sold out. So I don't know if they're ever going to repress that sucker again, but at least I feel like there needs to be like a good time frame in between these releases as well. That kind of helps ease the blow a little bit. Like, I don't know, 3-4 year span, because there might be people that weren't even collecting at that time that missed out, don't want to pay stupid money on the secondary markets and everything. So I think repressings are definitely needed and necessary. They can just be they can overstay their welcome, I guess, pretty easily too.
Yeah, and for me, that's exactly I started collecting again in 2019, and so that it's like a buffet, man. So I totally hear you on that. John.
Yeah, when it comes to these like steelbooks and exclusives and everything like that, I mean, I don't mind them doing it as long as there's like a standard edition to grab as well. One thing that always bothers me is like when they release stuff just in the steelbook and then it's a limited run or something like that and you can't grab it and that's it. The disc is kind of gone. I think it should be a little bit more fair where they can get the discs still while keeping those steelbooks or kind of collector's editions like separate. Then I won't mind so much when like a steelbook gets reprinted or like I don't think they should do the reprint thing. I agree with that. Like once something is limited, let it go, make it for the collectors, but have like a standard edition like for people who are still fans of the film. It kind of frustrates me sometimes when something only gets released in a steelbook and it's expensive and like people who are actually fans of the film aren't able to actually get that because it's stuck on a steelbook for a high price.
That's another topic, y'all.
You know, like it's just something that bothers me. And then also like sometimes there's a lot of confusion now in the community when it comes to like different scans, like Silence of the Lambs with Kino last year and Arrow Video. Like those aren't technically reprints; they're just coming from different studios. But one's exclusive to the UK or Region B, and one's exclusive to Region A. And which one's the better one? And people will get confused by that. And you know, then the arguments start like with Inglourious Bastards, like, no, it's the same scan, no, it isn't. And everyone's like, well, we're not entirely sure because Arrow Video is not like 100% transparent about what they did on their transfer. So we're just up here trying to figure it out.
Jake.
Yeah, kind of going off that point, I just wish that these studios, like, if you're going to put everything online, put every single piece of information on there. Like, don't leave any question marks out for the community to be like, hey, is this a new transfer? Why is this being released in the first place type of deal? Like, I know Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 Arrow Video just did a UK exclusive. Vinegar Syndrome did the US version, and I didn't know if it was the same transfer, what the heck they were doing with that. There's just a lot of, because I enjoyed that movie quite a bit, but I have the VS version. Do I need to double dip if there's anything new on that release? Like, packaging is cool and everything, but to me, like, what's on the disc kind of is what reigns supreme, and why I kind of collect multiple copies of the same movie. So yeah, just let us know. I feel like I'm going to be saying that on every single topic that we have to say here today.
Yeah, exactly. Transparency is key. I mean, I just made a damn video about that, and that's what inspired a little bit too, also with this live stream, because with that specific release, the Dolby Vision encode apparently doesn't work with the Panasonic UB820, which is definitely one or two most popular 4K players out there. And so yeah, man, that is a pretty big concern.
I don't know how you test for that though. Like, that's just crazy.
Did you guys read their response? I read on
yeah, basically update your firmware.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's kind of silly. But anyway, 80s.
Yeah, just same thing you guys were saying, but for me, I get it more in the comments. So it's like I've got my own opinions on it, and obviously I'm a collector. I buy things all over the world. So it's like if a release comes out here in America, and maybe I buy it, maybe I don't buy it, but then there's like a really cool release in the UK or Germany or somewhere else, Australia, and it's got cooler packaging, or it's got some like some special features that we didn't have in the other one, or like there's a different thing. There might be Dolby Vision where the other one didn't have anything, and so it's like I get excited about that, and then people in the comments are like, how many times do we need this release? Well, nobody's making you buy it. But then like the idea that people get frustrated, and I was like, I totally understand. Now if here in America you're an American, you're buying just American, you're not importing anything, and Shout Factory puts out something and then it goes out of print, they give the FOMO stuff like only a few left, better get it before it goes, then people hurry up and buy it, or somebody buys an out of print one on eBay for crazy money, and then 6 months later Kino's putting out the same title. That's frustrating. That I understand. That right there just kind of pissed me, because it goes into, because every time it happens, there's always that FOMO buying. And that, people here, we do it. Everybody's like, oh, hey, this stuff's there's not many left. They're going out of print. These are the last ones. So I was like, us talking about it creates that FOMO anyway. And then somebody else is going to put it out. So I can see the community's frustration with it. My frustration is something like, if I buy the Blu-ray and it was on a really good 2K or a 4K scan of the original camera negative on the newer technology. It was a more recent, Blu-ray that looks solid. And then, they put out the 4K like 3 months, 6 months. Within that year, the 4K comes out, and just like that's where I'm like, I kind of been drawing the line. And, if it's a solid Blu-ray and it has a great 4K scan, I'm probably not going to upgrade. I'm probably, unless it hits my top 25. But I got stuck last year of like, yeah, of course it's on 4K. It's the new, I got to get it. And I was like, I was buying stuff where I'm like, yeah, it's a slight uptick. There's a small upgrade, no new special features. The art is the same art. There's nothing special on this. And then I was like, yeah, that's where I'm getting a little frustrated. It's when the company's putting it out, and then within a short amount of time, the 4K is like, oh, hey guys, just so you know, we got the 4K over here.
That's Warner Brothers and Malignant from a few years ago.
Yeah.
Or how about here's the 4K, but then 6 months later, here's the 4K Steelbook.
Well, that doesn't bother me, because not everyone's a Steelbook collector, and I made a whole video like how I'm not a Steelbook collector anymore. I still buy them if they hit my top 25 favorite films of all time, because I did just buy Bram Stoker's Dracula on Steelbook, but I didn't initially. Like initially, I'm like, I'm fine with what I got. The art is pretty much the same. I love it. It makes my top 25, but I don't need a double dip. And then come to find out the Steelbook has Dolby Vision, where the regular slipcover release didn't. And so then I'm like, oh, now I gotta get it, because it's one of my all-time favorite films. And then it's a good with the Dolby Vision, you got a little bit more color pop in there. The reds are a little bit more red, but like realistically, I thought the slipcover version was a reference disc. So it's like, that's just me personally. But yeah, it's like, I think some people would get really frustrated with it, but there's tons of people that are Steelbook only people. There's tons of people that don't care about Steelbooks. I see that in the comments all day. Like, people fight over this stuff, and it's kind of weird.
It's almost like picking a side. Like, they just some
Yeah,
people
yeah,
just
it's
get
really
contrarian, you know.
Yeah, really. It's like a sports team or something. It's great.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah,
oh, well, you love them, well, I hate them.
right. So yeah, if you're really into Steelbooks, and then you feel obligated because you love the movie and you get to it, and then I can see how it could be completely frustrating, getting the Steelbook announced a few months later. I could see that.
Yeah. My main thing is like Arrow Video, Scream Factory releasing the same movie from Blu-ray to 4K, but like that's the only thing that's changing is just the transfer. Like, I know every collector is different, but if there's nothing else on the disc besides a new transfer, I don't think I'm going to pick it up at full price at like 30, 40 bucks. That just doesn't make a lick of sense.
No. I only got Humanoids of the Deep because I didn't get the initial Blu-ray. Like, I that movie passed me by, so this 4K came out. I like the artwork. I'm like, oh man, and everyone's like, yeah, it's a great movie from the 80s. You're like, you'll love it. And I'm like, where was this movie my whole life? Like, I somehow missed it. I missed the release of the Blu-ray, and so I was like, I got it. But that one had the Blu-ray that came with the new 4K. Because I was like, I don't think it's out yet, but they sent them out early. Like, I didn't get an early copy. They just sent them. I did get it early, but they didn't send it to me. Like, I bought it. And I already watched it, but that Blu-ray has the new 4K scan. So I was like, I couldn't even compare like apples to oranges. I couldn't go, oh, that old Blu-ray is worth upgrading. I don't know. I probably would think it was okay because that was a 2K scan. But if I had bought that original Blu-ray, I know I would have never bought the 4K.
Sure.
Yeah, one of the things too is that it's nice. Like, I've noticed on Kino and stuff like that, but just a lot of the Blu-rays are 4K scanned, and they're just as good, especially with the with the Panasonic UV820. How they just upgrades,
upscales it. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, upscales the Blu-ray. And so there's for some of these movies you don't even need to buy the 4K. Save some money right there.
Right.
John, you touched upon it earlier about kind of the whole Steelbook, movies only being released in Steelbook. That's one of the damn things I've noticed since, again, I started to recollect in 2019. So I don't know if it was happening beforehand. I don't really think so, but a lot of these labels recently, specifically Sony, Sony and Warner Brothers have been a little pain in my butt, man. And in the sense of Sony releasing movies specifically only on Steelbook, and I believe Warner Brothers right now is removing the Blu-rays on 4K movies, right? Like that to me is one of the most concerning, because I couldn't believe that.
They charge the same while giving you less.
Well, I'm 50-50 on that. So I was like, I 100% agree with you on the whole Steelbook only thing. I think that's ludicrous because not everybody's a Steelbook person. And I go back to the days of, Best Buy couldn't sell those things for anything. I remember them collecting dust and being like $10 just, 7-8 years ago. And then all of a sudden there was like this boom on YouTube of like these Steelbook guys. And then all of a sudden like Steelbooks became like a huge thing. And now they're at the price they are now. But I remember like they couldn't get rid of them. And so I was like, I have that whole Steelbook only thing. Like, that's very frustrating to me. I didn't pick up Panic Room because of it. But then like that other coin, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah. Mike, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I mean, prices are insane on Steelbooks right now, and I'm not going to pay it. I mean, it's just crazy. Like $40, $45, $50, $60, $70 for some of these Disney Steelbooks when they first come up for pre-order. I'm like, who is paying that much? Like that Willow Steelbook, it was like 60 something, right? Who's paying for that? Like, why, people? Why? I don't get it. But I won't pay for that Steelbook price, not at all. I wait till the price drops, and if the price drops and it's a movie I like, then I'll pick it up. Like the Venom 3 Steelbook, I waited till it dropped. I think it got that like $32, and at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable with that price. I like the movie. I know I'll rewatch it. Steelbook looks really cool. I'll buy that one. So I'm very picky on Steelbooks now, and I don't like how they're only doing Steelbooks for a lot of stuff now, just to upcharge everybody. I want as much options as possible for customers to choose. Give us the slipcovers, give us the steelbooks, give us 4Ks, give us Blu-rays, give us DVDs, give us all the options at the same time, and then let the customer decide whatever path they want to go. I hate when they're like, okay, here's steelbook. Later on, 6 months later, we'll give you the slipcover, or here's the Blu-ray. 6 months later, we'll give you the 4K. It's just a way for them to make more money, force double dips, triple dips, and I can't stand it. So I'm that person. I'm patient now. I'm like, I'll wait 6 months. I'll wait a year. I don't care. I'll wait till it gets to a sale or a discount. But that's me.
One of the things I really love about your channel, Mike, is that, and I believe that's how I freaking discovered your channel, was you do like a weekly Amazon thing. Recently, I know maybe for the past year now, you've done the every week about the 4K Blu-ray DVD comparison, or what's been selling, and lately it seems like there's been a lot of 4K buyers, which is very nice.
It's wild though, because the Blu-ray numbers have shrunk quite a bit in the last couple months, and 4Ks have skyrocketed, just taking over the market share. So I'm like, are people just switching over to 4Ks now? But is it because these studios and boutiques are only offering now some of these 4K steelbook editions? Right. So is that why Blu-rays are starting to disappear a little bit more? And now if you want a Blu-ray, you got to go like secondhand market for it. It's not a new release Blu-ray, because they didn't do Transformers 1 Blu-ray from stateside. Like, what are they doing? They're not offering us all these different choices anymore. And so I think that's frustrating for us as a collecting community, because it's like, do we wait? Do we know if a 4K is going to come out later? Is a Blu-ray going to come out later? Is this Steelbook, right? We just don't know. And I hate that. I can't stand it. So that's why I don't buy day one anymore.
I think that's what the Blu-ray number is shrieking. Sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Like the top 10 selling of each week as well. And I think that Blu-ray number is shrinking just because some of these releases don't include the Blu-ray. And in those numbers, if the Blu-ray is included in the 4K, it counts them as both in each column. Right. So if they're taking that away, of course, that piece of the pie is going to keep on shriveling up, and the 4K is only going to get bigger.
Jeff.
It hasn't bothered me as much because I haven't found a lot of movies that only release in Steelbook. It does bother me the price point, obviously, because it seems like when they do that, they do have it at a premium. But I can't fathom why they would just do Panic Room only in a Steelbook. I mean, that movie's been stuck on a damn Super Bit DVD that I did a video on like for ages. The DVD looked good back then. I've been waiting for that movie. It's one of my favorite Jodie Foster movies. I've been waiting for that movie to come on to, some high definition format. I would have been okay with just a Blu-ray if they would have just done that. But why did they just pick and choose that random movie to be only in a Steelbook? I don't know. That's my issue with it, is there's never any logic to it. I don't want to steal Mike's thunder. You guys know that there's like a buy one, get one 50% off sale right now on Amazon. And there's a ton of those Steelbooks we've been talking about, like that Hackers and stuff. If you're going to double dip, this would be the time, I guess, to do it. But it does bother me that they're taking Blu-rays out of the Warner Brothers. I didn't notice it at first, and then I started buying them, and I was like, I was taking the opportunity. A lot of the dollar store Blu-rays that I bought, I was starting to do Blu-ray 4K combos myself to save some space. And I noticed then that Warner Brothers was not including the Blu-ray. So I started, combining those together. And I was like, with no logic, I don't understand it, because it's especially with a lot of the catalog titles. My father, like I said, got me into movies. So I share a lot of my movies with him. And now I can't loan it to him. He doesn't do 4K. So I'll buy a movie and he was like, let me see it. And I was like, well, I can't. It didn't come with a Blu-ray disc. So, and my basement is where a lot of my older stuff is. I don't have a 4K player down there. So I've got a TV mounted up in the ceiling. I've got a Blu-ray player there. I can't go down and watch those movies unless it had a digital code. So it's frustrating to me that there's no consistency to it, like from one studio to another. I don't know why they're like Paramount now not releasing some Blu-rays for movies like Transformers 1, Smile 2. The only Blu-ray you get is in the combo pack. So now you're taking a market that's already squeezing. And like I said, like my father goes in and goes, I don't want to buy Smile 2. I'm not paying $30 for that. I don't want a 4K disc. So you're losing, kind of like Mike has said in some of his videos, you're losing some of the the normal people that might just walk in and see a movie and think about buying it, because you're forcing them into a format that they might not have or they're not comfortable with yet. So I don't know, I just wish they'd just be a little more consistent with it across the board.
Yeah. John, did you want to add anything? I know you talked about it earlier, but yeah.
Just, I mean, a little bit like what like Lionsgate Limited and Panic Room, that kind of stuff. It bothers me that there's just no standard edition with it, just because like The Third Man's one of my favorite movies, and I felt like I had to buy that 4K Steelbook, and it was $50. Whereas last month, Kill Bill and Jackie Brown had 4K Steelbook releases, but they also had standard releases with it, like where you could just get the slipcover. I just wish they would do that and not have it just be locked behind the Steelbook. And like Jeff was just saying, like I would just wish there was more consistency. Like, why is Panic Room one that gets chosen just to be in a Steelbook release? Like, it's just strange when Seven last month had both, and I get it, they're different studios. It's just David Fincher's movies are just kind of all over the place as far as 4K releases go.
Jake?
Yeah, we're talking Steelbooks. I love all this stuff, guys. The only way to get Panic Rooms on a Steelbook? Yes, please. Thank you very much. No, I think what a lot of this has to come down to is SKU rationalization on their side of things. People aren't buying movies the way that they used to, and it might be a lot to ask for to see if people want to buy the 4K as opposed to the Blu-ray, as opposed to the DVD, and printing out 3 different SKUs that kind of get released everywhere, especially if there's no retail footprint to actually go and actually pull these out. You got to physically go online. I feel like the people that are buying these online are really going towards the higher quality product as is. I know when I started collecting, I would buy 4Ks, but the Blu-ray was in there before I even had a 4K player, just so I could kind of like future-proof the collection.
Yeah, that's I think why they did it.
Yeah, it stinks.
They did it with DVD too. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. But I also see like the I think the best-selling movie of last year, physical media wise, was Deadpool and Wolverine. That was also $65 for a 4K Steelbook. Like, it sucks that that this is happening, but there are some case scenarios that they see the proof is in the pudding, and people are paying that much money for movies that they want to have in the collection.
And they released 2 of them. So
I definitely want to talk about that. So on the next one, 80s, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to add about the Blu-ray thing. So like, it always baffled me. So I was like, I understand everyone wanting it and people talking about how they like it, but you have to think like when VHS was came out, and it had like a big long lifespan, and then we had DVD, and then in a short amount of time of having DVD, VHS went away, and then DVD had a good run for a little bit, and then Blu-ray came out. And then they packaged that before. When the Blu-rays came out, a lot of the Blu-rays were coming with DVDs in there as well. And I think it was so you could, if you didn't have a Blu-ray player yet, you can buy those anyway. But in a short amount of time, I would have assumed the DVDs would disappear. But the fact that they never have, you can still go into Walmart today right now and buy a brand new DVD of a brand new release. And there's actually in my Walmart, there's a 4K movie I'd like to get, but they only have the DVD on the shelf, and it's frustrating. And I was like, I'd rather not order it online. So it's just like, the fact that we still are getting DVDs, I think they did it to themselves, because at the time, like, they were still selling. Like, they want to make the Blu-ray the new format. Now they want to make the 4K the new format. Just go all in. Get rid of the other stuff. I was like, I understand not everybody's going to be there, but if you want to be a physical media collector, you want to be a movie collector, like, that always was a thing. Like, you showed a CED earlier. CEDs disappeared. Laserdisc showed up. Like, so the people adapt. And if you want to have home videos, this is how we do it now. The fact that we're still doing DVD now, I just think it's weird. And I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot that way. And where you have that, like, studios are like, well, we're splitting the market and we got to spend all this money to make DVDs and spend all this money to make Blu-rays. I don't mind that the Blu-rays are not in the thing. Do I want a $40, $50, $60 4K with no Blu-ray? No, I don't want a more expensive thing with less. But if they were including a Blu-ray that was just bonus features, I would be super happy. But most of the time you get a couple extra bonus features on the Blu-ray that I notice, and the movie. And I was like, I never, ever, ever pop that Blu-ray in to watch the movie ever. And it was like, you said you might, some people might, but I don't. And so I'm only ever accessing that Blu-ray for special features.
No.
Yeah, that's one of the things really quick I want to bring up. There's one more as well, but yeah, a lot of these releases now on there's none. Arrow's pretty good, and there's some other labels as
Arrow,
well.
Second Sight will do it too with their so you can get
Yeah.
the 4K and have it imported to the US. They'll put their special features on the 4K disc.
I just got done watching the cruising 4K from Arrow Video, and there weren't any really, like, there were 2 special features on the 4K. I thought that was it.
Mhm.
I popped in the
Yeah.
Blu-ray. There's so many new special features. There's like a
Mm.
new interview with Karen Allen that's just on that Blu-ray special feature. I'm like,
Yeah.
this sucker should be looking as good as possible on that 4K. It's just it's weird what hides where, and you got to really do your research just to make sure you're watching everything that's included.
It's a
Mhm.
catch-22 because they try to maximize the space and make the transfer great for the 4K,
Mhm.
and they claim they can't put a lot of special features. But like those Warner releases, you end up getting nothing special feature-wise, but maybe the trailer.
Warner's the worst with that.
So
They-
that's
Worst.
tough. I mean, and yeah, so then you don't put the Blu-ray in there, so you don't get the special features that were on the previously released Blu-ray.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I 100% agree with that's
Yeah.
frustrating.
Warner
Mhm.
throws a trailer on there and they're like, "Hey, special features."
Yeah, maybe back in 1998 when DVDs started, first coming out.
No, but
that
even
was
then they were better. Then there was
They
a
were
lot
way
of-
better back in the day.
There was a
Yeah.
lot of great stuff back in the early days of DVD.
They had
Interactive
main menus that
menus,
blew my mind back in the DVD days. I miss that stuff.
the
Putting
Fight
in that
Club
first
Blu-ray and
Ghostbusters.
DVD menu.
One of the things I wanted to talk about is actually from Tim. He brought up a good point. It's great releases, but it's training people not to care about the Blu-rays as much. Which, yeah, man, that's something kind of I don't like that at all. Again, I do think that Blu-rays are very important. I know for me personally, I mostly collect 4Ks. However, Blu-rays are just as important as in some ways even more important than 4K. But yeah, I definitely don't like how the studios are kind of like training people. And speaking of that, one of the things that we just touched upon is the damn freaking pricing, man. Big one was about, y'all touched upon it, is Deadpool and Wolverine, how Disney is training the sellers to, like, it's okay if the movie is initially $60, but then it's on sale for 45. I mean, Disney slash Sony. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous because those two, even if you looked at Venom 3, that started out pretty high and then it got lower.
Mhm.
But yeah, Willow, and I will say that the other labels, at least what I have seen, definitely correct me if I'm wrong. But I have seen the other labels not pricing their Steelbooks, or at least, releases that high. So it seems
Right.
to be specifically a Disney slash Sony type of thing. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, Disney is the worst offender, of course. And then Sony's like, oh, let's follow Disney. People bought the Deadpool and Wolverine steelbooks. Let's match Venom 3 with that. And then nobody bought it, or not enough people. So they dropped the price a little bit quicker with that release. But I mean, these steelbooks are selling, a lot of them. Like was mentioned, Deadpool and Wolverine sold. So what does that tell Disney? Hey, when they do new steelbooks, if it's a popular enough franchise, let's price it again at $70, and then the $45 sale price, like you said.
Mhm.
So it doesn't fool me. I still don't have Deadpool and Wolverine in the collection. I will buy the steelbook if it's still available when it hits 35. That's my marker. I'm not going to pay $1 more than that for that. And if it sells out, whatever, I missed out on it, I'll buy the standard 4K later on in like a 3 for $33 Amazon deal when it happens.
Mhm.
It may take a while with Disney because they usually keep those prices pretty high for a while. But yeah, the prices are crazy. As was mentioned with Lionsgate 2 doing the new limited line. And I'm like, the You Are Next steelbook, like that was a movie I love. I've been waiting to pick it up. I'm like, oh, I know they're going to do a 4K steelbook eventually. I'm ready. I'll pay, $30 for it, maybe $35 because I really love it. When I saw it was that $40 price point for You Are Next, a movie that came out so long ago. Like, this isn't a brand new movie like Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, this movie came out a while ago. It has to be a more niche market, right? But $40? Like, is that the new low price is $40 and then we're now up to $70? Like, the floor for Steelbook prices have risen so much. And that's why I'm like, you know what? I can miss out on Steelbooks. I will buy Steelbooks around 25 to 35, depending on how much I like the movie. But other than that, I'll just buy the standard edition when it's on sale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't support the crazy prices. I can't do it.
Jeff?
With me as collecting as long as I have, I've been through this a little bit before with pricing being the determining factor. So I haven't bought a lot of these steel books like out of the gate. Like, I used to pre-order a lot. So like when the Venom movie, I didn't see it in the theaters. So I was like, well, since I didn't see it, I'll buy it. But the steel book was so expensive when they announced it. I think it was like 45 or whatever it was. I was like, I'm not paying that. But then the closer it got to release date, it dropped down pretty significantly, and I went ahead and bought it. But there's been plenty that I've went into the stores and picked up and said, I'm not going to pay this for it. Not just steel books, but the pricing, the way that's gone over the last couple of years. If you've watched any of my hauls, I've kind of scaled back. I don't buy a lot of these package deals with all the swag and all that stuff. I mean, I don't have any more room for posters. I don't have any more. I mean, I don't have any slip covers do I need for a movie it's never going to be on there. So I think a lot of these, they're now, because they're not selling to the general public as much, they're trying to squeeze every penny out of collectors. And so even if they only release one time, they're going to release all these different versions like Shout does, pins in one, slip covers in one, posters in one. I've scaled way back about all that stuff, and I've just went with the straight up just the movie more here lately than I ever have before. So definitely price is a factor, and they're going to end up, to me, you're eventually going to get it to the point where more collectors are just not going to be willing to pay these prices, and then what are they going to do? To me, I fear that it's going to, then they're not going to see the writing on the wall that they're the ones caused it, and they're going to basically say, oh, well, they're not supporting us anymore. No, like you said originally, go back to the beginning of what you said. How about taking that money and not release all that extra swag and buy the rights to another movie that hasn't been released before, or a movie that hasn't been put in a steel book, put it in one, do something different instead of just pounding us with the same thing over and over again, or just more of it every time they release something.
John?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way as Jeff with recycling the same things over and over and then repricing them at a really high rate. Like, that's just killing us right now. And I personally am struggling with it. Like, I'm buying things that I'll buy like standard editions, and I'll buy multiple at one time with you could pay in installments now, just because things cost just so much. And I think Best Buy really did more damage than we realized with them going out, because we lost a lot of great sales that we would have throughout the year, and then other places would price match those sales. And when stuff is being sold directly from the retailer now, or directly from the distributors, like, just for example, Lionsgate Limited or even A24, those places aren't going to have sales as far as I can think. I can't imagine it down the line. So they'll always be at those prices. And then what happened with Disney and Deadpool and Wolverine is like he said, people bought them. And if people are going to buy them, that's going to back us into a corner, and they're going to squeeze as much as they can out of the collectors until there's nothing left. It's the same thing with movie theaters. Like, the prices are so high to go to the movies now because not as many people are going. So they're going to take advantage of the moviegoers, and the moviegoers will keep going until eventually they can't afford to go anymore. And that's what I worry about happening to physical media, is that, eventually it becomes so niche that it's only for people who can really afford it. And I think physical media collecting should be for everybody, no matter what the pricing is. Have DVD. If people want to collect DVDs, let them go for it. Have it just that everyone can get those movies is kind of what I want.
Not to interrupt, but I feel the same way about adding all that swag to it. That's why all the popcorn buckets and tins became so popular.
Oh, those got huge.
There's less people going to the theater, so they're like, well, how can we make more money with less ticket sales? Oh, we'll get the collector mentality in here, and we'll put a popcorn bucket out for every movie, and then you got then you got the damn. I went down that route.
You can't even go get the popcorn bucket though on the day you go see the movie, because Because they're sold out.
So I started down that route. I
Frank.
got one for Halloween Kills. I got one for Scream. I got the one for Saw X. And I started stacking them up, and I saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, Jeff, do not buy any more because you're going to keep buying them. So I just said, cold turkey, stop. And so I haven't bought one since, because there's some cool ones out there. But I mean, where in the hell am I going to put them?
Yep.
And also, like I said, I think it's just they're taking advantage of the collector mentality. That's when you're going too far that way and you're not a movie buff anymore. It should be more about the movie and not the swag you're selling me.
Mhm.
Well, when you make things limited, though, like like with Vinegar Syndrome, like the FOMO kicks in, you can sell it for a high price because people get worried they're not going to get it, and you'll always be able to sell it at that price. It's supply and demand.
Jake.
At least with Vinegar Syndrome, there's a ticker that shows you like how much is in stock. That's the best. I wish Lionsgate Limited would do that. Like anybody that sells their stuff there, just let us know how much is in stock, and especially if you're not going to do sales or anything, just again, give us more information. But on the Steelbook side of things, I thought when Sony got the rights to Disney, it was a godsend because Disney wasn't releasing a lot of their back catalog. But for me, what I think honestly happened is that Sony got leverage, and they're like, okay, we got a big group of movies that we can charge an arm and a leg for, and they're doing that for their own catalog. Like you look at the Warner Brothers, Universals through SDS, they charge $35. Like that's kind of like their limit. Sony is trying to go their own way in the sea and treading their own water and seeing what the hell they can get away with. And I just some things are working, and then some things like Venom, that was $65 pre-ordered, and it went all the way down to $35 just because who the hell wants Venom 3 for $65? Like
you might want to make the movie good if you're going to charge
exactly that. No, they definitely do. I don't know, with the retail going away and a lot of this focusing specifically on online purchases, there's a lot of there's just a lot of stuff that we have to figure out, and that the companies, the studios have to figure out. And there's I don't know, a lot of question marks, and it's just, I don't know. I think the next 3 to 5 years of physical media is going to go through a lot of this like experimental stages. I don't know how long they can kind of keep things afloat the way that they have been. You see every year, like they sell less and less of this stuff. So they have to try to figure out different ways to make things feasible to stay in business, because it is really easy just to get a monthly subscription, a monthly paycheck from you every month and go the streaming route. It takes a lot of effort to actually print stuff on a disc in 2025, ship it out to people, and have people actually buy that.
80s.
No, I was like, I've said before, I'm not a Steelbook collector anymore unless it makes my top 25. This movie does, but I actually imported the 4K from France out of spite. I was not paying that $50 price. I was not. So I got Willow out of France, cover, and I was not paying the $50 price. Now, crazy enough, this release and the Steelbook were normal prices in Europe. So we were getting price gouged. The prices they were charging for us were price gouged, because the Steelbook, I think it was like 35 pounds or right around there, the European price. And this was 24 or 27 pounds in Europe. And then, so like after I imported it, the VAT tax, like everything, I still came in it cheaper than the American Steelbook.
Is that the same artwork as the American one?
Huh?
Is that the same artwork as the American?
No, it's different artwork too.
Is it different artwork? I didn't see the other one.
It's actually a nice cover.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Once I saw
I actually like it a lot better.
When I saw the price on Willow, I was like, "Fuck that, go!"
That was the easiest no I ever said. I was like,
and I went through Amazon France, and so I had it at the house really fast, and it worked perfect, and it was still cheaper than buying the American Steelbook.
Hey, I don't want to hijack it, but Frank, I'll ask. Can I ask one question? I've been asking some people, why do you think that over in other overseas, like in Germany and places, they get 4Ks that we don't get?
I mean, it has to be naming movie rights, right?
It's just studio rights.
Or studio rights. Yeah.
Random titles that aren't like super popular, like it isn't the mainstream ones, obviously. So it's just weird how. The only reason I was thinking about it is because he was talking about he bought Willow from there. I've had to buy some 4Ks, not that I had to, but because the price was good and it was overseas, or Orbit or somewhere, get a German media
Well,
book.
you have to go back to you have to go back to like the 80s and the 90s, and like when our favorite TV shows and our favorite movies and stuff were done over here and whatever, they would put a lot of that stuff in syndication on TV over there. And so you had all those people growing up with like things like Silver Streak. Like Silver Streak is a very, it's a kind of an obscure, Richard Pryor, movie. And so like it's a movie that people like. We had one here on Blu-ray, but I had to get one out of Europe because they didn't have it. And then I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, when I was a boy, I watched that all the time." And I don't remember where they were from in Europe, but they were writing the comments after I got it, and that's part of the reason is they get them because they can get them cheap. They can get them for cheap, but then they played them. They were in syndication all the time, so then it's an easy sell for any of the European market where they're going to put it.
Really quick, I just want to say, JG, thank you so much for the super chat. Was it basically it's same thing here? Here in the and I don't know. But anyway, yeah, Barnes and Noble, 4 week again because you live in Hawaii. That shipping, man, that's gotta take forever. But yeah, I mean, it's just Walmart and Barnes and Noble. At least here and where I live in the Northwest in Portland, there's no like shops besides that. So it kind of sucks. I see some of you guys have like some nice, like, I don't know, like pawn shops or something like that. Just like other like places to buy physical media. We don't have that here, man. And it sucks. So those are like my two main places physically are those. So thank you, JG. I really appreciate it for the super chat. Jake, this is going to be coming back to you because we talked about it. You mentioned it about the international tariffs. Yeah. You said you possibly have some info. Let us know.
Well, for my 9 to 5, I do a lot of buying and purchasing. And while there's still not a lot known about tariffs and what is actually going to happen within the industry once they go live, because it's just continuing to be pushed back and back because people are still trying to figure stuff out. The gist of what I've been hearing from a lot of people within the industry is that these costs, and this is just economics 101, like companies are not going to eat the 25%. It's going to be passed on to the consumer because they want to keep their quarters. They just want to keep that
they always take
income stream going and going. Absolutely. So the 25% tariff from Mexico, a lot of physical media gets printed in Mexico. The packaging gets kind of put elsewhere. Like I can see a lot of the packaging done in the States and saving costs. If we're just talking strictly the discs, our prices might go up like $1 or $2 into the actual suppliers. What they decide to do with that information, who knows? It gives them a reason to kind of uptick prices, but I would say that once tariffs go live, give it a month or two, and we're going to see new release titles go up in price. Like we think they're big now. I think a lot of things, not just movies, but a lot of things, once these tariffs go live, it's just going to be stupidly priced. It's not fun. Just thought I'd rip the Band-Aid off and give you my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah, exactly, man.
Grim Reaper type stuff. And honestly, just focusing on the physical media side.
Thanks for the buzzkill, man.
If prices do indeed, like if a new release title is, let's say it goes up 25%, we're pushing like $50 for a new 4K. I don't think a lot of people are going to pick them up day one. They're going to wait for sales. But if sales happen all the time and a lot of stuff isn't bought at new priced, I just don't know what's going to happen with this industry specifically. It's already so niche as is. Our numbers are already going down. That's just going to be a big hit. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
That's 100% right there. But I was going to say, but
yeah, Chase. Yeah, go ahead.
The point is to bring it back here to America. So
I hope.
I get it, but I mean, I hope it's like I just don't see like you're right on the cost, and I think you're right initially. I think that, but I think the goal is so that they bring stuff, making it back here, pressing it back here, having companies do it here instead of, because that was the whole reason they went to Mexico, and that was the whole reason they went to those other countries is because it was cheaper. It was the cheapest. And so now if we're the cheapest, then it'll come. Like, that's the whole point of it. So I was like, I don't know. I'm not a politics person. I don't care about politics, but I mean,
I'm not bringing that up whatsoever.
Thought process behind it. But no, for like I had another thought. I forgot what it was.
Well, what would be neat is if like the vinyl situation happens and a lot of those pressing plants get put back into the States and it becomes even more of like a niche collecting thing. Like, it'd be cool to see how it evolves. I'm just saying in the short term.
In the short term, I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But then I also have to bring up this, and I was like, not everybody's as old as some of us, and like some of us don't even remember. But if you remember in the 80s, not everybody was buying VHS tapes. Not everybody was buying movies, and the prices on that stuff are more than they are now. And people were buying them then. I have VHS tapes here on the shelf that are printed, not just a sticker. They're actually printed as part of the artwork, $60. And then when I looked up like when that actually was released, it was a $200. Like when you adjust for inflation, that was a $200 VHS.
Right.
So
I saw the
$200 on a movie. It was normal.
I saw the artwork for Monster Squad, and it was $79.99 suggested retail price when it came out. And that's why I bought all of my VHS used back then, was because you couldn't afford to buy them.
You couldn't afford to, and that was the thing, is that was a collector market back then. And I've talked to some old guys that are in their like 70s and 80s that were buying stuff back then, and they said that was normal. Because they were buying it back then too, and they're still doing it. And they said, he said, the one guy I talked to, because I wanted to double check. I said, is it really that price, or is this just like a gimmick thing, or was this maybe for, a video rental store that was video rental store's price? Like, what was it? And he said, no. He goes, I remember in the 80s, like I was in my like 30s, and I remember spending about $100 for one movie back in the 80s.
I don't think they wanted you to collect back then. I think they just wanted you to rent it. So
right.
Obviously kind of
probably
trying to do now.
The video stores would mass produce them.
Even with Laserdisc back in the day.
It'll circle back around again.
So I mean, like we're all frustrated by the prices, but like there's the collector mentality, but then there is the mentality, and I don't mean to knock anybody. So I was like, it might come across weird or off-putting, but I don't mean to offend anybody. And to the people listening, not you people on the panel, but there's that $5 bin and at Walmart, and so you can get DVDs and Blu-rays for $5 for years now. And I remember Best Buy even had a $5 bin, and so like I think that mentality kind of, people forgot how much this stuff used to cost. Like I remember, I didn't own a VHS. Like the first VHS, it was gifted to me for Christmas. Because like in the early 90s, I think it was like $35 or $40 for new. And it was gifted to me for Christmas. It was a Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. Like that was the only VHS I had for like 2 years. And then I got Indiana Jones. And like, that's all I had. We only ever rented. Like the very first time I started buying movies is when I started working. And I worked at a video rental store. So it also made sense because I saw them all day. But like this, it's like, I think that there is a frustrating thing of we've been paying X amount of dollars for this stuff for years, and now there's a huge price hike. But there's also a price hike because we are going back to that collector market. And if you look at like the 80s prices, there's no way I would spend $100 to just get like 3,000 miles to Graceland on VH. I'm not spending $100 for this movie, but that's what it was.
Yeah. We're already like an hour and a half. This live stream flew by so damn fast. Holy cow. Really quick, man. I mean, what I would really want is I want to go just one by one really quick. And I want to have you guys have a platform just like, is there anything that like we didn't touch upon that like you guys wanted to discuss? Because I mean, we kind of went through a whole bunch, but again, I think that it would be nice again if you have anything. So I'm going to start off, Mike, Jeff, same thing. And so Mike.
Yeah, I mean, we covered a lot of great topics tonight. I'll just kind of reiterate, it's still affordable to collect. I know that everybody's saying the prices are super expensive, and yes, they are for day one Steelbooks, limited editions. Yes, the prices are crazy there. But it's still affordable to collect if you want to wait, right? Wait a few months, wait a few years, buy Blu-rays, buy DVDs, go secondhand market, look on eBay. So I still think it's affordable to collect. You just have to know when and where to buy. So I would still encourage people, if they want to get a movie, like look into all your different options, still support collecting in any way you can. You don't have to buy the super fancy 4K limited edition day one. So there's options out there for people, and I think that's important to know as well. At least that's how I view it. It's still a very affordable hobby when you compare it to some other super expensive hobbies out there. So
Yeah, and again, that's one of the things on this live stream is that I want, because people know like my channel is normally pretty positive about this wonderful hobby, but again, I just wanted to voice some of my concerns and your guys's as well. But this is a hobby that I absolutely love, and I will continue to support 100%, because damn it, there's a lot of movies that I want to own. Jeff, go ahead.
I don't know that it would be something this panel would talk about, but just something that I always like to be an advocate of is people sometimes confuse movie fans and collectors. And I think, like I said, we're both. I always remind people that if you look at my channel, I support micro budget films or like independent filmmakers. I've become friends with a lot of those guys, and understanding the process they go through has educated me a lot on it. And that some of these people, put a lot of effort in that, and don't just support, mainstream movies. Like look for other, areas you can support filmmakers. And most of those guys, if they do Indiegogo's and that kind of stuff, they give you physical media as one of the things you can get for support. So I just try to support physical media in movies across the board, not just normal releases. So I don't see a lot of people, pushing micro budget type stuff. A lot of it is just like, fun type stuff you can sit around drinking and watching. It's not mainstream movies, but it's just physical media, man. I mean, even those people, they offer you media as one of the perks usually. So it's important. I think if you go back, all of us have probably talked about it on our channels. Once things go totally streaming, it's out of your control. It's gonna get altered. Your movies may disappear. I got scared back when the French Connection, when they showed that in the theater, it was edited. And when it first popped up on the Criterion Collection channel, it was edited. The director, before he died, was pissed about it. When Adventures in Babysitting showed up on Disney Plus, it was the edited version, and most people didn't know. That's what I fear, is that you're not gonna,
They
without
just
physical
edited
media.
Crocodile Dundee and put it in
Exactly.
theaters, and now it's coming to 4K, and maybe it's going to have that edit.
Just always be an advocate of the physical media if you're a movie buff, because you need I feel like it's almost like you need a record of it. It changed my mentality changed. You might sound funny, when I was listening to Joe Bob Briggs do a rant. It was one of the movies he does a commentary track for. I think it was I Spit on Your Grave. That Elite DVD is the only way I think you can get his commentary track. But he was talking about this stuff back then, that if you want a movie, you better buy it and own it, because some of this stuff is going to disappear, because they're eventually going to tell you what you can and cannot watch. He was talking about that then when that DVD came out, and it's coming to fruition now. So it's kind of scary that you see everything these people have been warning you about. And that's why I've always been a physical media advocate. So, I mean, I think our voices are important. Doesn't matter how big your channel is, as long as we're all talking about it. I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, I think that's the key too, right there, what you just said. John.
Yeah, one thing Jeff just touched on a little bit too is like the streaming thing. That's one thing that I really think is, played a big, a rating on the parade of physical media and kind of slowed down it gaining. That's why I think when we went from like Blu-ray to 4K Blu-ray, it didn't pick up the momentum like Blu-ray did after DVD. Streaming service was new at like 2008, and now at this point when 4K rolled around in 2016, that's where people were mainly getting their movie fix. And unfortunately, I think it did kind of hurt the physical media market. But I'm hoping that now people realize with these rising prices of streaming services and how they can pull content from it, that physical media, even though it is expensive, you do actually own that product, and they can't take that away from you. And I get it's an expensive investment. And I think that we have to really start at the beginning of getting more movie fans before we can get more physical media fans. Like people, like Jeff just said, you got to have people who love movies too. Like if you love physical media, collecting movies, you got to love the actual movies that you're collecting. And I think that the film industry in general, and yeah, look for smaller movies. I have a hard time with a lot of these mainstream films that come out nowadays. They all just feel very generic, but there's a lot of great movies that come out each and every single year. You just have to kind of go hunting for them, and then, you know, support their physical media releases on top of supporting Disney and Deadpool and Wolverine releases. There's some other smaller companies, and then, you know, maybe, you know, support those films, and then we'll have more physical media collectors out there.
Jake?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I've been collecting for a while, so the things that get me excited are 4Ks, boutiques, all that stuff. But it's great. I put out a lot of social media on Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. I've seen a lot more of like the younger generation people in their either like late teens, early 20s, going to Goodwill, buying either a DVD, Blu-ray player, picking through all that stuff, and dropping streaming services because they're sick of paying a monthly fee and they'd rather physically own it and have it forever. It's great to see that mentality is still kind of somewhat there, whether it seems more foreign than it has for a long time, but I feel like there will always be a factor of people wanting to own certain movies that they love, and as long as that's out there, you'll have an avenue to just like go and buy the movies. I still love going to Goodwills. I love going to hobby shops, trying to find things, because new releases, we know what's coming out there. You never know going into those stores what you're going to find, and that's half the fun to me, is just like going to see what movie I don't have in the collection that I might not even have thought about grabbing before, but I physically pull it off the shelf. I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I want this in my collection to watch at a later time, and it'll be there forever.
Sometimes it's like you struck gold, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
part of the hunt.
Hell yeah. 80s.
No, just to go off what Jake said is like I'm going to thrift stores too, like on a regular basis. But for me, it's about the movie and not the format. And this was 50 cents. So 3,000 Miles of Graceland for 50 cents. I got it. It works. I a long time ago, I picked up a $6 VCR, and since then I've picked up a bunch. But when I went to grab this movie specifically, the cashier was telling me that same story, like 20-something-year-olds, like younger kids are coming in and buying this stuff up. And so I was like, my immediate thing was the eBay resellers. I'm like, because I have to fight those guys all the time. And she was like, no. They come in regularly. They get excited. They got VCRs and they're like buying the stuff. And she goes, other than you and those kids, nobody's buying stuff. So it works, but yeah, it's about the format. So like, to combat the overpriced and the expensive stuff, you can still buy a DVD. This one here was $2. I was like, this movie's never been on Blu-ray. It's a cover up with Dolph Lundgren and Louis Gossett Jr. Never been on Blu-ray, $2. And I'm pretty sure like Amazon had it for like 15 or 17 bucks. $2 works perfect. Yeah. So there's ways to get it as cheaply as possible. You can literally get in this hobby at whatever level you want. You want to get into, the expensive stuff in the 4Ks. You want to get in as cheaply as possible. At the end of the day, it's about the movie. Enjoy it how you want to enjoy it.
Repeat that again. Repeat that again.
Amen, brother.
At the end of the day, it's about the movie.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I wanted to say. So you just stole my thunder, but preach it. There is many ways to collect movies, but guys, yeah, it's for the love of movies, man. 100%. So, guys, this has been absolutely amazing discussion. I want you guys to promote your damn channels, y'all fantastic people and physical media content creators. So guys, promote. Mike, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, Mega Mike the Movie Man. You can follow me on all the socials out there: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd. If you love movies like we're talking about tonight, you'll find something on the channel for yourself. I cover deal videos every week, so if you want to save yourself some money on your collecting journey, definitely follow me. But yeah, check out the videos, see if you like it, and if you do, then hit subscribe after that. But yeah, it's a party over here, we're having a good time. We're having a good time over here.
Oh my God!
To the physical media movie party over here.
It's like an acid trip, man. Seriously. Jeff. What the hell?
Yeah, whoa, look at that.
I told you, we got a celebration. We got to celebrate those movies over here.
Oh my God.
All right,
David Copperfield, man.
I'm pretty much Jeff Man 316. I've always been that. Anybody asks, it's because I was a best friend called me Jeff Man because I was a Batman '89 fan, just went to see it in the theater like multiple times. And then I like Stone Cold Steve Austin, damn it, and that's the bottom line. So that's where the 316 came from, because when you created any moniker online, you usually had to put a number in there. So I cover physical media just like all you guys. I do a lot of hunts. I try to do that, but I also, like I said, I think a little thing, I try to cover a lot of smaller budget movies, and I've got a lot of friends that I try to help promote their stuff. Like I just did a review of Jason Pitts. He's a director that I've kind of hooked up with and saw some of his low budget stuff. He's got a lot of stuff on Tubi. So I try to promote movies from all levels on my channel, whether it be micro budget all the way up to the big boys. So anything physical media and movie related, that's what I do. So check out anything Jeff Man 316.
John.
All right. Well, first off, Jeff Man 316. I love the fact that that's a big Batman '89 and Austin fan. That's great. But yeah, I'm John over at Let's Talk Entertainment and Media, and on Saturdays we do our Q&A show. Sunday, Let's Talk Physical Media for all the news, and we do a bunch of 4K Blu-ray reviews all mixed in there. And we do channel memberships now, so for $1 a month, you can listen to me talk about Twin Peaks. I'm doing a watch along with that right now. And I don't know if people remember that show, but that's one thing I always wanted to do on YouTube, and I knew that nobody would watch it, so I had to make it for like the channel memberships. But man, it's nostalgic. I'm having a great time with that. So come over and check that out if you're in the Twin Peaks.
Nice. Jake.
Yeah. Over, I think this week on YouTube, I have 4 videos already ready to come out. I had one yesterday, today, the next 2 days, about like A24's monthly membership, review of Rumpelstiltskin, Vinegar Syndrome haul. I just got Panic Room in yesterday. I watched it last night. My review of that will be hopefully Friday, Saturday, sometime around then. But always just a lot of physical media content, just like everybody else here.
Love it. Love it. 80s.
Yeah, I've got all the other social medias, but I kind of quietly quit them. So it's like I'm all on YouTube. I'm all on YouTube. That's where I'm at. You can find me all. I mean, you can find me on other ones. I was like post stuff sometimes, but I'm really over here. 80s Made Consumer. It's all one word. I think you can just type in 80s Made. You'll find me. I looked very distinct. You can't miss me. But yeah, same thing. Talk about movies, reviews, my opinions, my thoughts. And that's pretty much it. But I'm not really a self promoter.
Yeah.
Talk about movies.
Hard, right?
Yeah, I'm out there, guys. Just look for me.
Yeah, find me. Find me. I like movies. If you like movies, just find me. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining in the chat. I really appreciate it. And again, follow everyone on this panel. Thank you, guys, for joining tonight. I really appreciate it. And guys, have a great one, man. Collect those movies.
Appreciate it.